Anyone familiar with either the Alien or Predator franchises will tell you Aliens Vs Predator Requiem is not a good movie. From the plot to the acting to the technical aspects, the film is not great. Even before the movie starts, you'll notice they couldn't even get the name right. Why did they call it Aliens vs Predator when the first one's called Alien vs Predator? Aliens vs Predator 2 when there isn't even an Aliens vs Predator 1? And sometimes the name even changes. I've seen it titled as Aliens vs Predator Requiem, Aliens vs Predator 2, and in the case of my DVD, AVP2 Aliens vs Predator Requiem. Quite a mouthful. People usually refer to it as AVPR for short, so I think I'll stick to that. The next thing that annoyed me was the DVD menu. They made the cursor the same colour as everything else, so you think you're starting the movie playing and you end up at the special features menu. At this point I'm already irate and the film's not even started yet. So when you finally manage to start the actual movie itself, it picks up directly after the events of the first, with the Predator ship leaving the Earth and flying back into space. We see the Scar Predator's body on a table that doesn't match the one from the first film, and the Predalien chestburster bit recreated but with worse lighting and lower quality effects. Why? It would have been easier, cheaper, and would have looked better if they just reused the first film's footage. Why recreate the same scene and make it look worse? And why did the Predators just bring Scar's body on board without checking it first? He was hunting xenomorphs, something this clan has been doing for thousands of years, and they don't even think to scan it or anything, just in case he may have been impregnated? Technically a mistake made in the first film, so I won't entirely blame this one, but it's still dumb nonetheless. So the chestburster then molts into a Predalien and makes its way into a smaller scout ship which detaches and then starts making its way back in the direction of Earth. Did they forget something, or? It then begins to attack the Predators on the ship, and as one opens fire, it breaches the hull and causes it to crash back onto Earth, in a town in Colorado, USA to be exact, which is where the rest of the movie takes place. What are the odds of it landing in America of all places? Like, if it's out of control and could crash anywhere, then why isn't it some little random country no one's heard of? Why not Andorra or Gabon or something? Or most likely, the ocean, as Earth is 70% water, but conveniently it lands in America because that's the place where movies happen. I'm surprised it's not Los Angeles actually, but I guess filming there costs too much. And then when there's this huge thing on fire that looks like an asteroid is flying through the air and smashes into the ground next to a town, no one notices it except a man and his son who are out hunting, but they are then facehugged by the escaping facehuggers, starting a xenomorph infestation, and the Predalien escapes as well, but not before the last Predator activates a distress call, which is picked up by one of the film's few saving graces, the Wolf Predator, who, unlike the three Youngblood Predators of the first film, is an elite predator who specialises in cleaning up. The Wolf Predator is a lot of people's favourite Yautja, and he has a pretty good design and does get a lot of action scenes. He gives up and leaves for Earth to fight the aliens and remove any trace of his kind's existence to the humans, and that's the setup for the movie. While we do get a few cool fights and action scenes, the majority of the film centres around the human characters, which are mostly made up of whiny teenagers. Most of it is just about nonsense, like the pizza boy liking this girl and then getting his ass kicked by her boyfriend, and his brother is an ex-con for some reason looking for a job, and then there's this woman who's a soldier on home leave with a really annoying bratty kid. Like, what does any of this have to do with Alien vs Predator? No one cares about pizza boys and love triangles. This feels more like the setup for a team drama or a soap opera than AVP. In the first one, the human characters were relevant because they were professionals and their expedition is what led them to the aliens and the predators. The characters here are a huge step down from AVP1. I don't even know who's supposed to be the main character, as it seems like it's the pizza boy at first, but then it seems to be more about his brother and the sheriff, and then the army woman and her kid. Teenagers and a town setting just doesn't fit. Were they making Alien vs Predator or Freddy vs Jason? A town as the setting just does not work for this type of film. These franchises work best with an isolated location. The only exception would be Predator 2, but that's because the Predator doesn't just run around in the middle of the street in broad daylight killing everyone in sight, but xenomorphs have to be in an isolated location. Ellen Ripley's whole mission from Aliens onwards was to stop the xenomorphs reaching Earth at all costs, even to the point where she'd sacrifice her own life because they would destroy all life on the planet. But oh no, that doesn't matter, because it turns out they'd already reached Earth hundreds of years ago and it didn't really matter, they just dropped a nuke on them. It's clear the people who made this decision don't appreciate or understand the Alien or Predator series is. Of all the ideas they could have gone with, why this? They literally did the opposite of what fans wanted. If you had gone back in time and told someone this is what an Alien vs Predator film was going to be, they'd think you were joking. Another massive failing is the way the film's lit. For some reason it's so dark, and any scene that isn't a day scene you'll likely have to turn up the brightness and contrast, and if your TV's in a room where you get any amount of glare, then forget about it. Even the scenes set in the day, they're still dark and it does look really weird, like it was shot on a cheap mobile phone camera or something. How is it that in AVP1, inside of a black stone pyramid, you can still make out what's happening, but here you can't see a thing? It looks so different, it doesn't even feel like it's set in the same universe as the first one. And they did the thing I hate most about these sequels, the cringy on-the-nose quotes from the previous films.
Get to the chopper!
They just had to, didn't they? Of course they did. But believe it or not, it gets even worse. And then there's the stuff that makes no sense, like how the Predator skins a guy he just killed and hangs him in the tree for all to see. You're supposed to be covering your tracks, not making more of them. And then when they're escaping, they decide to go to the hospital just on the off chance the helicopter is still there. What makes you so sure the people in the hospital wouldn't have already used it? Instead of jumping through all those hoops, finding weapons to fight the xenomorphs, travelling to the hospital, protecting the only member of the group who can fly the helicopter, and then hoping it's still there and hasn't been damaged, why don't they just leave town? The town I live in real life must have something like 10 roads you can follow out of town, and the town in this looks way bigger than where I live. So you're telling me that there's only one road out and it's blocked for some reason? Just get out and run then. It's not like there's this huge barbed wire fence running around all the perimeter of the town. And then a major pet peeve of mine, how does the soldier automatically know how to fly helicopters? Is her job in the army a pilot? It's never mentioned. They don't just teach that to everyone in basic training. She drives the APC too, so is she both a tank driver and a helicopter pilot in the army? The special effects of the film, when you could see what's going on that is, weren't bad, and like the first film, the music was pretty good and fit the theme of the film well. However, during a lot of the action scenes it had a lot of cuts to the point where it's hard to see what's going on exactly. I thought the creature design was really good. I liked the designs of the aliens and the predators. I liked the alien design with the return of the ridged head for these xenomorphs, and the design of the Predalien was really cool, though it could have done without the dreadlocks in my opinion. Also, the wolf predator I liked a lot. He also has a few predator weapons new to this movie, which is always fun to see. I thought the idea of a cleanup crew predator was a really awesome one. And then there are some cool action sequences like the sewer fight, the double headshot where the acid melts that guy's face, and the final battle where the wolf predator and Predalien fight on top of the hospital just before the nuke is dropped. It actually has pretty much the same ending as Resident Evil Apocalypse, so I wonder if they stole that from that movie, as Paul Anderson, who made the first AVP, was I believe a producer on that film, so perhaps that's what gave them the idea to do that. And then it sets up another film at the end where Miss Yutani is given the Predator's plasma caster. But unfortunately, we would never get a third AVP, as the poor critic reviews and fan backlash this film got is what made Fox decide not to continue with Alien vs Predator, and instead go back to making each franchise separately, with Predators in 2010 and Prometheus in 2012. It's a shame, as I feel they misinterpreted the feedback to this film. When people criticise this film, that doesn't mean we don't want any more AVP movies. We do want more, but we want them to be better. There's few things I dislike more when it comes to films than starting a trilogy and then not finishing it, like we would see later with Ridley Scott's Prometheus trilogy, where we never got the third film. And another example I can think of are the Amazing Spider-Man films, where again we got parts 1 and 2 but no 3. It just goes unfinished and kinda renders the first 2 pointless. So overall, despite some cool action and creature effects, AVP Requiem was a mostly poor movie with a weird setting, dumb characters, and felt like a drop in quality after the first film in almost every way, and it's clear the filmmakers didn't respect or understand what makes these two franchises great at all. I would score it a 4 out of 10. Not unwatchable, but lower than average. Only recommended for the most hardcore fans to watch for completion purposes. I hope you enjoyed my review of AVPR. If so, don't forget to leave a like on the video as that helps me out a lot. And if you want to go the extra mile to help support the channel, then both memberships and super thanks are now open. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.